Alrighty.
No, it's just with the staff, office staff.
Okay, so thank you both for coming. We're so excited to have you guys here. Today, we are going to be going over some things to help you with your students, some activities you can do over break, some ways you can avoid holiday stress, tips for keeping your student engaged online, and then some additional resources. If you guys have any questions at the end, we'll also leave some time for that as well.
Okay, and we just wanted to put our pictures out here because some of us are new to the school. So Mr. McHugh, some of you may have met him last year. He started last year right after the holidays, and he is our principal. And you may have heard him on some of the meetings. He's the British guy. And then Mr. Wilson, he's new to our school. He just started at the beginning of this year. And I believe he is on the call now, so if you have any specific questions for him, there he is. There's Mr. Wilson. And he is our assistant principal, and he comes to us from East Side of Cleveland Schools, so he's had lots of experience. And my name is Jenny Galati. I'm the Dean of Students, and I also started last year, right after the winter break last year. So I've been, I was at the school January, February, March, and then we went out. So I did get to meet quite a few of the parents, but, we've all been out since then. And then next, I just wanted you to see pictures of the rest of our staff. Online here is Miss Rosenberg. She's our counselor, and she is filling in for our other counselor, who is off in Qatar on her duty for the Army. Erin Boren is our instructional coach. You can see Mrs. Zykowski here. She's the school counselor for the middle school. And then Dr. Burkhouse, Amy Burkhouse here, she is our technology integration coach, and she's been a fabulous help to all of us. So if you ever get in trouble with your technology issues with your students, she's been really tremendous in helping us navigate this process. And if you ever call in the office, you would either talk to Miss Amber or Miss Jasmine, probably. They're both part-time admin assistants. So usually they kind of switch off days. So they each work about 2.5 days. And then Miss Monica, most of you know her. She's been around since the beginning of, Miss Monica, there you go. She's been around since the beginning of Lorraine Constellation, and she's very helpful in your enrollment process and also just general things. Oh, and it looks like Mr. McHugh has just joined us. So that's kind of who you're dealing with.
Awesome. So now that you know who everybody is, we're going to go over a little bit about why we're here. So distance learning. So obviously it's not ideal, but we have to do everything we can to keep the students safe and the staff safe right now. We use Google platforms. At this point in the year, I think students and parents are starting to get more used to it, but I did link a Google Classroom tutorial on there, and I think it's super helpful. It helped me when I first started, because I started this year and I wasn't really familiar with it very well. So I had to get familiar with it as soon as possible. So I used this tutorial and some others, but that one was the most popular one. Attendance in live lessons. So we encourage all students to be present for live lessons, but we do understand that there are some hurdles and stuff that we sometimes face throughout the day, and some parents maybe not be there to help our students all the time. So there is an option that they can complete the assignments and stuff asynchronously. But we do encourage that live lessons are the most important thing. We want all students to be there for the live lessons. Jenny, did you want to go into the HB 410?
Yes, there's actually a law, House Bill 410, that basically says that students have to attend school. And so unfortunately, with this 100% virtual, we've had some students that have dropped off in attendance for various reasons, parents being overwhelmed, not being familiar with the technology, or just kind of thinking, oh, well, this year's a wash. But we just wanted to keep you guys informed that actually it's a law. So, for example, we might have a kindergartner and the parent might say, oh, well, kindergarten doesn't matter, or first grade doesn't really matter. We'll just wait. But there's actually a law. So when a student meets a certain threshold that they've missed so much school, we actually have to have an attendance hearing, and then we come up with a plan. So we've actually been holding quite a few of those hearings. And, the hope is, so, if you ever communicate with any other parents about that, that this is actually a law and we are required by law to report this. And, our hope is to keep students engaged and attending. They have the two options. They have the live lessons they can attend, or they could just do their work later. And the beautiful thing about that is if they do their work later, even if they're not live, as long as they turn it in, they do get credit for attendance. So if your child is ever sick, or you're sick, or you just want to take a day off and, go to the zoo, that's fine. You can do that and then just hand in the work later, and they get full credit for the grade and for the attendance. Like I said, with the House Bill 410, we've actually, had to refer some families for truancy, and they could end up in juvenile court. So just keep that in mind. If your child is sick, just pick up the phone and call Miss Monica or Amber or Jasmine and just let us know. And, hopefully there won't be any problems for you.
And so is there an echo? Sorry about that. So your counselors, your teachers, your tech coaches, and the principals and these students are all people that can help you and your student during this time. The counselors, so myself, I am the K through 4 counselor, and then Mrs. Zykowski, she does 5 through 8. So we'll be in and out of classes. We do lessons about twice a week with your students, and their teachers are in there with us too. We also provide one-on-one counseling for those who need it. So sometimes if a student will pop into my Google Classroom and tell me what, maybe they have something going on, we'll talk about that. I do small groups, so we do lunch groups. So if you see your student during lunch, they're usually with me. Those of you that are elementary, but we play games and we talk about just how their day is going usually. But overall, we're here for tech issues and social emotional issues. But pretty much anyone in the school can support you as well. So if you reach out to someone, they can point you in the right direction, whether it be to Amy Burkhouse or one of our other tech coaches or a principal as well. We had sent out a pamphlet last week, I believe, about depression and suicide and risk factors to look for, especially over the holidays. And while this might not be for your student, it is important to know because especially this holiday, it might be a little harder than most with COVID and everything going on in the world. So there are some risk factors to look for if you're with your student, if they are maybe feeling some feelings of depression. So persistent feeling of sadness or loss of interest categorizes to major depression and can lead to a range of behavioral and physical symptoms. So some of those may include changes of appetite, so eating less, maybe social isolation, or just overall lack of interest and motivation to do things that once made them happy. So just things like that to look for in your student. This time of year can be very hard for them, especially not having the social aspect of school and just being around family 24/7. That can be tough too. Communication. So we have office hours, Mrs. Zykowski and I, both on Tuesdays. Ms. Zykowski has hers 5:30 to 6:30 and mine are 6 to 7. So we're available for office hours. So we can do Google Meets at that time, phone calls, whatever the best way of communication is for you. We also are available on Dojo message throughout the day. So if you message us, mine pops up on my phone, so I see it right away. And then I get an alert on my email. So I am constantly checking Dojo message. My email address is always, email is always a great way of communication. Our emails are just our last name, period, first name at constellationschools.com, just like your students. So you can either call us, we can set up a phone call. through email, and then or Google Voice sometimes is available as well. But we're pretty much available throughout the entire school day, so from 9 to 3, and then our office hours as well.
And this is for middle school students. I also do my office hours on Wednesday from 9 to 12. And every student I added to my Google Classroom, and they're able to just add themselves onto my Google Meet from 9 to 12. It's actually been working out pretty well. They do have to get permission to enter my Google Meet to keep it confidential. But so far, I've had a couple students every week. I think they kind of like that drop-in aspect. It kind of reminds them of being in person where they could just visit my office when they need to. So that's just another time during the day that I'm also available, especially today on asynchronous Wednesdays. So this slide, how to avoid holiday stress, is more for you as the parents. I know, especially the next 2 weeks, your students are going to be home. You're going to be busy with the holidays if you celebrate. So it can cause a little bit of stress. So I'll do the self-care part second, because I'll open the floor up to you for some ideas of self-care. But setting boundaries, guidelines, rules, or limits that you want to set for yourself and your family, that's a good way to avoid holiday stress. Saying no to family members, I know it can be hard, but if you don't want to be around a certain family member, it's okay to say no. So do what's in the best interest of you and your family. Don't let others make you feel guilty for setting those boundaries. And family visits, it's on there twice. Do what's in the best interest of your family. So self-care is the practice of taking an active role in protecting your own well-being and happiness during a period of stress. This is something that Blair and I kind of talk about a lot. I think we've put it in the newsletter a few times, but self-care is really important. So if she can click on the link that's on the slide, it's going to open up into a document.
Can you see that?
No, it didn't pop up.
Oh, wait. How about now?
Yeah, so you can see it now. So these are some ideas of self-care during the holidays. We came up with this list, but once we go over them, we'll open it up and I can add some more ideas if you have them. So first idea is make time to do something for yourself during the holidays, even if you're super busy with work or family or going out of town, or you have a lot of things on your calendar. Make sure you do something for yourself. Create healthy boundaries again. Focus on what is happening in the present. I know for me, sometimes it's hard because I think about, 300 things. It's kind of like a computer tab with, 10 tabs open at one time. But kind of focus on what's happening before you, especially with your family. If you're with family, just focus on what's happening in the present. Practice gratitude. Always be grateful for what you have and who is around you. Don't be afraid to say no. Taking deep breaths. Take a walk outside if you need a moment. Enjoy your favorite activity, whether that's exercise, baking, reading, watching one of your favorite TV shows. Don't forget to eat. Don't skip meals. So eat well. Try to unplug your phones and your electronics. Take a moment away because sometimes we're so connected to the outside world that could cause us stress. So unplugging, turning off our phones and our electronics, that'll help us focus on the present. Be sure to get plenty of sleep, hydrate, and then let go of traditions that are causing you stress. If hosting a big family gathering is stressful, maybe this year do something smaller and only have a few family members together. So I'd like to open the floor up to the both of you or to anybody else who has some ideas for self-care. We could kind of collaborate on this. If there's anything you like to do or anything that you know of that could help with the holiday stress.
Well, one of the things that I think is important is sometimes you need to indulge yourself a little bit. You know, I have 4 kids. I've got 2 in college, you know, money's tight, but I thought, you know what, I started a walking program over the summer and I thought I really need to keep that going. So I splurged on some expensive hiking boots. And I just thought, you know what, this is what I need to get me through the winter.
Okay, so splurge on something useful. Mrs. Burkhouse, I think, said wrestling mats.
That's funny.
And I also saw in the chat box that the Sikarskis do a family game night. I like that idea too. That's a way to like bring everybody together and you can talk about what happened during the school day or the work day. That was a good idea.
Yeah, Monopoly night gets pretty epic.
Yeah.
Monopoly. I love Monopoly so much. I want to play that right now.
I have a 5-year-old and he likes to make up his own rules for games, so he always wins.
Yeah, I mean, Eris is 7 and she still thinks she always wins.
Right. I wonder when they grow out of that.
They don't. My husband's the same way.
No.
That's funny.
So does anybody have any other suggestions for self-care ideas? I mean, just remember self-care isn't always like bubble baths and like they portray on TV. Yeah, that's like how they always portray it on TV is like bubble baths and tea. So, you know, it's not always bubble baths and tea. It's taking a walk outside or yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
We do dance parties. Some nights we've had cooking nights and let the kids cook instead of us.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
That's a great one.
It was a little edible.
It's a thought that counts, right?
And teaching them a life skill there, a useful life skill.
They've learned a lot of life skills during this at-home life. They've learned everything. We've been doing that for a while. Vacuum, dusting.
I already know how to vacuum.
They can clean the toilet.
Wash the dishes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, do everything.
We're still working on sorting laundry.
Okay, so we'll add some more onto this document before we send it out to everybody. So thank you for those extra ideas as well.
Stop sharing this then, Donna?
Yes, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Go to the next slide.
Yes, because I went over all that.
All right. So this, we did 24 days of the countdown to Christmas. And then we also added on each day, there's a activity that you can do with your child. So this is pretty cool. I'm not going to go through every one of them, but this PowerPoint will be given to you guys so you all have access to it and you can look through and see what's feasible for you and your family. So we can just go through a couple. So I'll click on the first one. Let's see. So this is Write a Letter to Santa. So if you and your family celebrate Christmas, this might be a good idea to do this with your student. I feel like that's something that I used to always want to do when I was a kid. So that's just one fun activity. And the rest are pretty much just like small activities. How do I get out of this? Small activities you can do, and where was that one? They are easy for families to do it if you have small kids or older ones too. I shouldn't go through the I think there was like a story, like I also added it to the additional resources page, that last page that we're going to show you, but there's like storytelling. So you can choose an actor, like your student's favorite actor, and they can read them a story of their choice, which I thought was super cool. So I added that to there. And there's like a lot of people on there they can choose from. So that might be something they might be interested in. But I like number 6 a lot. Awesome. So I'm going to go to the next page, if that's okay, which is our additional resources page. So these are, in addition to, I guess these might be some of the same ones, but these are a lot of the ones that we thought were important. There is an article here for mindfulness and intentionality. That kind of goes along with the self-care that Mrs. Aikowski was talking about before. So being intentional and being mindful about the holidays and being mindful and intentional about your self-care and taking care of yourself and your students, because that's super important and that comes first before anything else. So that's a really interesting article that we wanted to share as well. That is all. Does anybody have any questions for us?
Thank you, Amy. And, we do the food distribution on Tuesday and Thursday between 11 to 1, and we usually have extras. So if you know somebody that's an issue, we can give that to them. And I did post on Dojo a resource list for food banks in the Lorain area over break. Since we won't be delivering the food over the winter break, there will be no food distribution. Okay. Are there any other ideas that either of you parents would like to contribute to this that have worked for you as far as stress reduction or keeping your kids engaged?
Well, for myself, my student was not allowed to play Monday through Friday video games. But unfortunately, because this is the only interaction they have, well, my son has with children, now we gave him a little bit of leeway so that he can play during the week after school. Yeah, he loves it. He enjoys it. So we just feel like at this point, in this moment, this is what we let him do. And we also do a lot of board games just to keep him busy and a lot of cooking. That has worked for us. Yeah, it's good and it's bad at the same time because we'll be eating all the time. But at least it keeps us interacting in the home. So that has worked for our family.
You know, Elaine, that is a really fantastic point that you bring up, because one of the things I notice with the video games now, because I have two sons that play video games, is that it keeps them engaged with their friends. And so, you know, they have their Xbox headphones on and they're playing, but they're also talking with their friends and laughing with their friends, and they're engaging in their group social activities. So, you know, something that we never ever imagined, that the video game system is actually becoming a very healthy outlet for our students now, because it gives them the opportunity to socially engage with each other. And, you know, I used to joke about having these virtual sleepovers. I remember at one point driving my son to the store so he could buy snacks, and his friend's mother drove him to the store. They met each other up. They bought their snacks. They went back to their own homes because they each wanted to be on their own system so they could stay up all night playing this video game. So, you know, I thought, well, I guess it's like a sleepover, you know, because normally, you know, kids when they're 13 or 12 and they're having a sleepover and they're staying up all night eating junk food and playing video games, but the kids didn't actually want to be in the same room because they each wanted their own system. So it was like this virtual sleepover before virtual social engagement was a thing. But the video games can be really great because it does give the kids the opportunity to talk with other things. Of course, you know, depending on their age, you may want to monitor it. And, you know, if they're hooked into just their friends, then you know it's pretty safe. You don't want strangers coming into their group.
That's right.
Yes.
You don't have to take anything. Back in April, when like everything like first started, we were supposed to have this big camp out. Both the kids are in Cub Scouts. So we were supposed to have a big Scout camp out, and that got canceled. Like it was totally last minute when it all happened. So we did a virtual camp out at home, and they like turned the room into a fort and built like tent forts out of the room. But then throughout the day, like they had different Scout activities they still had to do for their requirements. And one of the things we used, and I don't know if you want to add it to your list, we did a scavenger hunt through.
I'll add that. I like that.
And the site it was an app. It was called Action Bound.
Okay.
People go on there and there's just like public scavenger hunts, and you one and you can participate in it. And every time you find something, you post a picture of yourself with whatever you found. And they have different ones. Like there's ones that are just for adults. There's ones that are just for kids or families. There's just a whole list. It was super cool, super neat. Just different scavenger hunts that you can do. But yeah, I thought that was really, really fun. We've done them a few times, like over the summer we were doing them.
Do you find is there like a website?
The app is called Action Bound. Let me see if I can.
Action Bound.
I'll have to write that down for
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I love the idea of the tent and setting up the tent and having us, you know, a sleepover in the tent, or that sounds like a really fun activity too.
Here, I'm putting it in the chat along with the other thing that I posted. Because you were talking about writing the letters with Santa. We do it every year with the Postal Service. Last year, Eris got picked and my niece got picked. And they received everything that they had on their wish list from people around the world, or
Wow.
the country that participate in it. This is the first year they've done it nationally for the Postal Service. Before it was just Ohio, New York, I want to say Pennsylvania and Michigan, just a few different states that did it. But this is the first year. I just went on their website and it says every letter's been adopted. So, you know, who knows what's going to happen or what's going to show up at the house. But it's really cool, and you can just write your letter and send it in, and they scan it into the system, and people go on the site and just choose to adopt the letter like they do with the trees. Like where people pick the people off a tree or whatever and can buy them a gift.
Yeah.
It's the same concept, just it's all online. It's really neat even just to read through the kids' letters and stuff. It's kind of cute.
Like that idea. I'm going to put that down in the sheet. I already put the scavenger hunt in there, so I'm going to add those. Thank you for that.
Yes. It sounds like you guys have done quite a bit. That's fantastic.
I try to find something new every day. We have to keep a routine, especially with Aiden. Like he has to stay on routine. If his routine is like messed up in any way, the whole week is thrown off. So.
Well, that's another thing, Donna, if you could add it to the list, I think that is a very important point, is that kids need routine, especially younger children. So that's something to think about, because that's something we forget about. But, you know, my kids are older, but I remember when they were younger, the routine aspect was very important. And, you know, all of us have had our routines thrown out the window with everything going on. Like, oh, yeah, you can sleep until noon and do this, but you know, I know that, I mean, as an adult, I function better when I stay on a routine. So that's a really important point that you brought up. Thank you for that.
Has there been any new development on in-person classes yet?
I don't believe so. Right now, they're taking a wait and see. I know we just recently went from purple to red. I don't know, Jason, if you want to, Mr. Wilson, if you want to address that.
We are fully remote at least till January 22nd. As we get closer to that date.
You're breaking up, Jason. Oh.
As we get closer to January 22nd, we will be reevaluating, or the district as a whole, Constellation Schools will be reevaluating as a whole, and obviously communicating as much information as we can as early as possible, but at least till January 22nd, which is at semester break.
Okay. Okay, is there anything else that anybody would like to add before we wrap it up? We really appreciate the parents that came, and you guys, sounds like you're handling it really well, and you're trying different things, you're exploring, and you know, we really appreciate what you've done and the ideas that you've given us, and we'll be sure to share that with other parents. And you know, it might be a good idea to do this again, because look at, we came up with some more good ideas. So thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you for having the meeting. I appreciate everybody just kind of being able to have a powwow. It's a nice little break.
We appreciate you coming. Thank you for joining us today.
Yes, thank you. It does. I agree. It gives us a little break just to think of other things that doesn't involve right now school and getting organized for the holidays. Right now, I do have a question. I'm on my phone because I'm currently not in Ohio. So where can I get this information that we talked about today? Is there a link that I can go to?
So we,
Okay. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
While Dr. Berghaus is doing that, I just wanted to drop in and say hi. I've been listening to the chat as it's been ongoing and trying to multitask over here. These ladies have done a great job of putting together a session that I think has been informative and useful. I wish more parents were privy to that information, but we'll make sure that we get that information out via email later today. Thank you both for coming and sort of sharing your experiences. I've already signed up Lorraine Community School for the Operation Santa. So hopefully we can tackle a few of those letters in the coming, I think there's 3 days left. Hopefully we can tackle a few of those needy letters and fulfill some of those over the coming days. So thank you, thank you. I know it's super hard. I'm juggling it myself. I've got my first grader here at home doing some homeschooling situation. So I know that it's a tall order firsthand. You guys are doing an amazing job. And the grace and patience that you're showing the staff at the school, as well as your own children, I can only thank you for eternally. So keep reaching out to us. If there's anything that I can do personally or if any of the team can do for you, please just let us know.
All right. Well, thank you, everyone. It was really nice to hear your experience and learn something from you guys as well, and give you guys something that you can hopefully use. But with that being said, I think we can wrap up. If you guys have any other questions, you can always reach out to us via email or Class Dojo. We are always available for you.